by anyone, and they're just trying to get easy access and.
Well, that's my point, because I don't know who
technology.
Sagewell is, and it seems like that's exactly what they're trying to get easy access, where most businesses, they wanted that information, they'd have to pay for it, right?
If I could just qualify that somewhat, and this is my opinion, but I don't think a company can afford to do this without a town's help and charge them nothing. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it would be cost prohibitive. So, again, we're making a decision to make it easy for them to bring us this service for free.
And maybe I'm just missing again, so why couldn't they just go out and publicize this and snap a picture of someone's house, if that's all it takes? And then say, we're in town and this is what we're doing,
Yeah,
and give me a call. Why
I get you.
couldn't that be?
Let me use the Solarize program as an analogy, which hopefully will make sense. But when Solarize was able to offer dirt cheap prices for solar, they did it with the understanding that the task force was gonna promote the heck out of the program, which we did. And it was very lucrative for Real Good Solar. And the task force did the legwork. We were their marketing. You can't buy marketing like what me and the task force can provide. I'm bragging here, but you can't. You just can't get it. You know, when we start to promote programs, you know, I've got a lot of people on my contact list, and as a company, you know, that's you're talking like, I don't know, $100,000 maybe. I mean, we collectively in Portland, we spent like about, I don't know, I forget the exact figures, but I'm gonna say it's $2 million people spent on Solarize, and they saved $500,000. Okay, so it's just insane how much money that the Portland residents saved through that program, and also how Real Good Solar did not have to spend on marketing.
Mhm.
So it could be the same type of dynamic between Portland and Sagewell.
I'm missing the nexus though, so why do they need the information from Portland? What is it that?
I'm ready to call the question.
I don't
Well,
think
that's
it's just
fine.
one question, but yeah,
But-
one more
but-
time.
But why can't they just get the information themselves and do that, and you still market it? Why do they need the town's imprimatur on this thing?
I think that in order to put someone together, and I don't know, maybe Kevin, you have a better perspective on this. Kevin's, you know, does this stuff as part of his function for the town. You know, if I was to come in from Sageville and just say, all right, you know, go to like house to house and like write down addresses and try to get physical data on the house, measuring the house, okay, because all that sort of stuff, then go to the town hall and collate 3,000, 3,500 houses by
Right,
myself.
yeah.
So I think it's just a function of, if they can get it publicly you know, the public information, you know, that we can provide.
Well, could we apply for this, and then if we do get it, maybe have them come in and talk to us? Say-
I think that's, you know, sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's an excellent idea.
You know.
And then
Yeah.
answer
They'll-
a lot of the
they can
questions.
answer these questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to make one statement, and that is just to reiterate what the Clean Energy Finance and Investment Authority is. It was established by the Connecticut General Assembly on July 1, 2011, as part of Public Act 11-80. The new quasi-public agency supersedes the former Connecticut Clean Energy Fund. CEFIA, Clean Energy Finance Investment Authority's mission is to promote, develop, and invest in clean energy and energy efficiency projects in order to strengthen Connecticut's economy, protect community health, improve the environment, and promote a secure energy supply for the state. As the nation's first full-scale clean energy finance authority, CEFIA leverages public and private funds to drive investment and scale up clean energy deployment in Connecticut. So I think what we are talking about is what they do. They do promote new companies, they do promote investment in clean energy. And part of our mission within our energy policy is to help in that regard. And that's something that was passed previously by this board. I think what this particular application points out is how this is done.
I can agree with your mission statement, I agree with all of that and the philosophy behind it, I just really don't know anything about I don't know anything about the company, who they are, what information they're getting, where that goes, and those are my concerns,
Sure.
so.
I think Kathy's suggestion is a good one. Is there a motion on the
One
floor?
second, Susan, on
Yeah,
that real
sure.
quickly. Listening to this, I can understand, and I kinda agree with Brian in that, everybody, I think we are in agreement about the statement and saving energy and what a great thing thermal energy, looking at your houses. But are we looking at an endorsement from the town for this company to, to be
No,
doing?
this
Well,
is
no, because
Sepia.
they're doing it, yeah, I know it's for Sepia. But then from there, just listen, they would be developing lists, possibly, because say your roof is leaking and you're showing a lot of, heat loss through the roof, or you're showing a lot of heat loss through your windows. Would they be taking these and saying, after, develop a list and maybe sell it to, one of the, replacement windows or replacement roofing companies, so then, they could be marketing, phone calls and so forth. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm?
I think people can do that, and they do
They
that
can,
now.
yes, they can.
Absolutely.
And they are, I'm sure they are. So I think it's a great concept both
And
ways.
that the layer that is supposed to protect from that type of activity, as
Right.
Mr. Bowers pointed out, is that Cefia's agreement with this company only exists because they are of a quality or of a level that they can sustain. If they can't, and they're doing
So
things
they
like
don't
that.
they don't do that.
What I understand through Cefia is they vet these contracts. That's their mission. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I would say, again, I've read through this, I won't read through it again, but there's the 6-step process of like what happens afterwards, like a person will go to the website and sign up for, and that's in this RFP. And if there was the possibility of the company then contacting people on its own, I think that would be in here. And I think it would be a huge mistake for Cefia and Sagewell to go ahead and do that when they're not saying they're expressly gonna do that. I think they've expressly said what they are gonna do, and anything that is not in their prescribed list, I just don't see them doing it.
Is there an interest in?
I would like to make a motion to allow
me
Susan
to
to
sign
sign the document,
the application.
the application
For this program.
for this program.
Seconded by Kathy. Further discussion?
In mind, just to have, to make sure that these kind of that it could flip into a murky area,
And I think that I would also say that the company, should we be selected, be invited to come visit
You're
with the
right.
selectmen, as
Yes, I think a lot of these
Kathy
questions
suggested. I
could be
thought that
addressed.
was
Yeah, that's-
outstanding.
May I offer, okay, some of the questions that you offer, you want to have these answered, okay? So if you have, everybody has my email address, or you can send it to Susan. If you've got a question for Susan that you want a burning answer to, if you vote yes for tonight, I have until Friday, 5 o'clock to submit this. If you've got a question that I can't get a satisfactory answer, I don't have to send in the application.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, say you get the picture, you like it, whatever, you have some heat loss, you don't know what the back of your house is doing.
That's correct.
If you call them and like, if you do get in contact with them, would they come back and maybe do the back of your house, or is it front only?
Unknown, Captain. I don't know if they would do that. I mean, they
It's a
might.
good question. I thought of that, too.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought of that.
You could certainly say, hey, I'll pay you for your time.
okay,
You
yeah,
know,
just a thought.
I think I have a lot of heat loss off the back of my house.
It's all
honestly.
Tom's fault.
It is. favor?
Aye.
I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, I thought it was a good discussion, and I had some concerns too, but I'll support it.
Brian? Abstention, one abstention. Motion passes. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Could we take a brief break? I wanted to, just like 2 minutes. Noah?
Yeah, it's just a lot of meetings.
All right, so you guys have your packets in front of you. So I did hand out the revenue report for the general fund, the expense report, and the revenue and expense reports for water and sewer, just so you had them. For the general fund, as you go down there, you see under the 00201 pilot state property. That was one of those that after we had done the budget that the money came in. So there was a few things that are up and down, and so that's one of the ones that's gonna come in. So that's a positive to the 25,000. The 78,000 account 0212 municipal revenue sharing. That was the remainder money of the municipal revenue sharing grant. That grant now is gone, and that will not be funded any longer, unfortunately. Property rental through October, we're at about 244. So Brownstone had a good few months in the summer, so that's good. We are seeing some, conveyance tax is holding fairly steady, so some of the town clerks are, recording fees are a little bit lower than we've expected so far, but not horribly off the number. Public police private duty, that's a number, that's a 324. We're at about 62,000. That's a virtue of just the use of the public safety. 327, which is 328 structural permits. That's doing quite well, as a couple large permits came in. I believe one was definitely for it was for Cumberland Farms. It was a decent permit size.
Have you seen that it is now closed? They will be demolishing that building and rebuilding.
And then for other revenue, 354, that was the money that we received from Kerma for their dividend that they give out. Hopefully yearly now, but this year we did receive it, so that's good. On the expense side, staying within budget on many things so far. Knock on wood here, and the weather's been staying good for us for now. Again. We do have a few ongoing litigation issues within planning, zoning, and Board of Assessment Appeals, those type of things. So that's an area to keep a watch on for the upcoming months, and to see how we do there. That's on page 4, Department 14. Let's see. The page 10, the town engineer budget globally could, right now it's to the good mostly. There's a few accounts that are over. It'll be interesting to see how the planning, zoning, and then wetlands, as well as site plans shakes out through the year as we've received more permitting than we had anticipated. It's likely, obviously, the planning and zoning is already over by 461%, but it's a budget of $1,000. So, So we're gonna have to keep watching that one, and you know, nothing to, is the global budget's still at 57% available on that town engineering line. Anyone have any other questions on expenses? The one other thing I'll point out is on page 18, Department 095, which is contingency. When the CNG dug up some of the sidewalk as they were running line to further enhance their area, as well as some of our areas that we were going to connect into, they ripped up some sidewalk. And that they wanted to replace it back to a bituminous material, and I believe we've had them upgraded it to a concrete material. So that was their contractor did the work, and that was reviewed, I think, by our Public Works, and I think the engineer might have looked at that quote as well, and I'm not sure about that, but that's the fee for that, and that's what that was.
Tom, I just have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Not about anything in particular. I'm wondering, like, is this in Excel? What kind of, like, is there a way we could get emailed this? Like, these reports? Because, I don't know, for me, I enjoy, like, I use Excel for a living. I mean, and I would love to, you know, like, take away all the zero balances, all the, you know, the accounts that are unused. It makes it more difficult to read, you know, especially quickly when there's so many accounts, and like the total percentage is the total that we've used and not the total that we've received.
It is confusing.
I mean, it's
We
confusing.
discussed that.
Total available.
It's a very confusing report
Yeah.
for me.
It's
I
our
mean,
soft, it's
I'd love to be able to play around with
software.
it, I guess, is
No,
what
you
I'm saying.
can't do that. We don't allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want periodically, if you want to
Yeah,
request
just like
it, let me
once
know.
every quarter or whatever.
Tom,
just-
this isn't in Excel,
It's not?
is it?
Well, this is a PDF file, it's
Is it-
exportable to Excel, it's just
Yeah.
not that pretty, but.
Okay. This is a
It's in the-
Right,
No, no, no. In case I get bored, power goes out.
Yeah,
Sure.
When is this actually ready, Tom? Is this, do you have it 2 days ahead of time, or 3 days, you know, when is the report actually printed?
Anytime.
I printed,
It's live, so to speak. We print it.
for this
today
evening's
for
report,
you.
yeah, I run it
You
tonight.
can print it anytime.
Because, I mean,
I live close, so I could pick it up at the mailbox myself.
Sure. We can do that.
Would be helpful.
Yeah, we could put it in the week before, you just
We
won't
had
get
enough time
up
to
to
look at it.
today.
well, the dilemma that you have if you were to do that, and that's why we don't do that, is you won't have journal entries for that whole month.
Right.
You would have a month lag. What it gets accomplished in the first 4 days of the month would be that Sally my accounting coordinator, would post all the journal entries.
You post, so when do you post typically for like, some month ends, December ends? When would you post December's revenue and expenses in
Well,
January?
the revenues are posted as they get collected, but, you know, so say they're accumulated until the person posts, but it's posted based on the day of the post.
Yeah.
So there's various receipts during the day, but it's more the journal entry situation is where those get accomplished after the end of that month.
Mhm.
She waits to do it all
So
at
right
once.
now, you would be reporting on November currently, correct?
Correct, like, this is a November report right now. I just wanted, you know, I ran it today. It had, you know, 'cause there was a few activities that occurred early this week and a few postings that I wanted to get in there for you.
And I asked him to do it for today.
Yeah, so, I mean, a lot of times it'll be 11, it'll be run as of the date, but it'll be like 11:30 normally, is how I do it.
So when is your November close then? Would that be?
Never, we don't close until we don't close, really. It's just, you'll have reasonable numbers,
Mhm.
like if it was, for this report, that's a reasonable number for November,
Mhm.
right now.
I got
these, if you were to look at year-to-date, that's kind of where we stand in
What
November.
what software is it, just out of curiosity?
This is Enterprise.
Yeah, Custom.
Where was the charge for the sidewalk repair? I missed what page.
That was, it's the Department of 095, and it's page
Page 18 or something.
18, I think it was. So it's contingency.
Alternatively, you can review this report for January.
And like, the total,
See what I'm saying?
I'd like to
So-
see.
Or the mill.
What would
Totals.
you like to see?
Well, just, you know, when I look at like a revenue, instead of seeing what we're missing, I'd like to see what we've received. You know, I think that, percentage-wise, I think that,
Okay.
for me, that's how I look at things, you know, I wouldn't
Yeah.
look at what haven't we collected yet, I
Right.
would look at what have we, what do we have?
What do we
And
have?
then we can go from there, you know?
Well, in government, you normally want to look at what you haven't have in revenue. That's what you want to know. In government, that's the rationalization for
Can we
that.
have both?
This does not, no.
Actually, this software does not produce that, correct, Tim?
No, this is the report.
This is
There
the
is no
report that
adjustments to
they
the report.
produce, Right,
And this report is
a lot better than it was when we.
extraordinarily more complete than it was when I was able to come here and work on the system.
Could you print it without all the zeros, like without?
You're not going to get the detail.
There's a lot of accounts that just have no activity in them, you know, and, I mean, I'd like to just like some way to streamline it more,
Mhm.
just so, it would just make it so much easier to read, you know, instead of, cause like I feel like it would be easy for any of us to overlook, you know, anything,
Mhm.
you know.
Like a quick print.
Yeah, something. But I mean, that's just.
I will say that our software is what it is. It's not the most amenable to lots of reports. And we went through this 5, 6
5 years ago.
years ago, 6 years ago, before your time. So you are pointing out what
That was me.
is correct,
You're right, guys.
but what Tom has been able to do is to actually make this a lot better than it was. Now, you'd like to budget a new software.
No,
That's
it's
another
expensive.
option. It is expensive, but, you know, as time goes on, this is aging, and at some point, it will.
Do you have Mr. Curley's email address?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have it at the office.
Thank you.
And I have it in my phone.
On, well, Tom, real quickly, on,
Yep.
I see we're gonna be doing, transfers too today.
Yes.
And,
We're gonna get into that,
real quickly here, so on there, we have, I
Pretty
didn't see
soon.
anything on street lighting, on our report here, it seems to be okay. You're asking like $4,000 more.
no, that's from last year.
Last year's, what's left?
No.
This is fiscal year 14 that you're looking at right now, Carl?
Yeah,
The request that's in the blue is for fiscal year 13,
yeah,
the year that's, the auditors are auditing currently.
okay.
So I just need to get the fourth quarter transfers are there to allocate money to make the budget reportable in the financial statements. So that's the different request.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, think about whether you'd like your reports ahead of time, or whether you'd like to review this report in detail for January. It's gonna be old, but you would have the month to look at it. Do you wanna try that? So for January, why don't you review this report, make your comments or questions, and then in January we can answer. Is that okay, Tom?
Probably makes more sense for me to do it the way we've been doing it, getting an
Oh,
update.
okay.
Just
Well,
my
I'm
2 cents.
hearing two.
That's just my 2 cents, I'd rather get the update from Tom, and then you can always review it later.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you always
That's-
shoot me
that's what we've been
questions, I'm
doing.
always open to questions, give them to Susan, I'll give them to me myself.
Well, why don't we do a combination? If you have questions on this report, you can call Tom, or you can wait until you're here, because I know you're all busy every day at work. So if you'd prefer to have your questions on this report for January, we'll also have the January report. Does that
And,
sound like a good plan?
yeah,
in
and
the
then
meantime,
quarterly,
we'll
Mr. Curley, I'll
communicate with
email
Mr.
him a
Curley.
report.
That's helpful.
Did you want that too, Ms. Richards?
No, that's
Okay,
fine.
all right.
It's getting too late.
That's fine.
Yeah, Fred?
All right, thanks.
Fred
no
would
problem.
look-
Sorry,
Fred
good.
would like it too?
Pardon?
Do you want the report emailed to you too?
Yeah, or I can pick it up. If I know it's gonna be in the mailbox, I can go right. Either way, whatever you
Okay.
do.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw them in the mailboxes, but I mean, then everyone has to go to the office
Fred,
before.
it's convenient
just
for
my-
Fred because of his location.
I can
He's
come down.
taking a walk.
Yeah, I can walk down there.
He's right there.
Okay.
Fred can deliver.
Are we ready to move on to the next item? Which is Resolution Supplemental Appropriation, Security and Safety, System-Wide Board of Education, and...
Oh, fourth
I'm
quarter
sorry.
transfers.
Oh, did you want to do that next?
That's what's
I
the
know.
number of them.
Let's do fourth quarter transfers next. I have 12 circled because I wanted to get that one done.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're correct. Fourth quarter transfers is next. And Carl, did you have any questions on that?
Just, bringing it up to safety and all the other issues that we had earlier on Lang.
Yeah.
And,
There's a promotion in terms of street lighting for towns to buy their streetlights.
What?
We
I'm
have
sorry.
read that, the
Is that-
towns to
Middletown did
purchase,
that?
Middletown
Yeah.
did that. And there's been a promotion for this, for towns to do this. They're claiming we can save money. CCM is promoting this. I'm not sure yet. It's something we'll be looking into, but we can do that during budget season.
I think prior to that, we should have some kind of some kind of a study or some kind of see what we don't know, we're just spending money and we're really not knowing where we're spending it, why we're spending it. We should have a study as.
Streetlight study.
Yeah, streetlight study where.
Well, I
it gets
think
most-
if you were to determine that you wanted to look into buying your streetlights, they would do that as well. Okay, any questions on the matters at fourth quarter transfers? Resolved, Board of Selectmen hereby approves the following, or the below fiscal year 2012-2013 year-end general government transfers. Is the motion to accept the resolution as presented?
So,
Brian, second by Kathy. Questions?
Do we know why, like, budgets were exceeded for, let's say, like, all the, like, the transfer or senior center?
Well,
got
we
that
tried to
little
put the
explanation.
explanation there.
Transfers exceeded revenues. I mean, yeah, but I'm just curious as to.
The, again, yeah, sure, I mean,
Sure.
the, start with the first one, Public Works overtime, there is a, union position that receives overtime, that's a clerical staff to the, department chief. And, for overtime, was required, for female reporting, various reporting, other tasks that the department had deemed was necessary. So the amount that was budgeted was exceeded based on that. And there were some, there were some grant reportings that existed. So I mean, not a large amount of money there, but that is that. Last year we did have some throughout the year, as we noted, we had some serious storm issues with snow, and with that becomes it was documented throughout the year that there was vehicle maintenance issues. And then it also, that trickles down to all your types of vehicles, being your public works, your fire, and your police. The public works director will speak to that his fleet is aging. He brings it up to the Capital Commission as well as in the budget time, and he feels that there, needs to be, as well as probably I do, as well as we continue to work on our capital plan and, stay focused with that endeavor, because what happens is you see this as you see the equipment repair cost just it escalates on you. The town engineering, there were a few areas where there was some storm drainage permit items that were kind of.
I guess I'm just more, it's the payrolls for me, like the senior center and the.
Senior center there was a person that was working in the youth service department
Mhm.
that was a minimum, how do I say this properly? A small position, a lower hour position that was moved from youth service to the senior center.
Wouldn't that decrease the youth services?
It did, but I mean, the youth service is another fund.
Okay.
That's in Fund 7.
So wouldn't that be a decrease, though, on the budget transfer? That
No, the
position?
person moved from youth to senior.
Okay.
So the senior center budget did not know that the person was gonna be there,
Oh.
and the person worked there,
Okay.
in lieu of working in youth service. So
But
if you were to look
would
at the
that be
youth
a
service.
decrease to the youth services budget, is what I'm saying. Shouldn't,
The only way that would
shouldn't
be-
the money that was transferred to the, what is it, the senior center come
Mhm.
from the youth services? Wouldn't that make sense?
Generally, the way that we have done it here, the only time that we've caught a transfer to an outside fund is in the year that, the first year here, that there was a large number found on the balance sheet as a deferred revenue of an excessive amount of money in the Parks and Rec fund. That was moved into fund balance. Otherwise, the monies that are budgeted get transferred over. We don't do that. And that
Where's the extra 5,000 then for youth services? Do
it
they
would
still
stay
have-
within
do
the
they
youth
still have-
service fund balance, if there was
So-
fund balance.
Okay. Shouldn't, why wouldn't?
We don't net that. I mean, that's never been a policy of the town to do such, so the profit, if there is such thing as a profit, if they do go into that to make some type of a fund balance in that fund.
The other
If
way
there-
you could accommodate it is a transfer that you make every year to youth service. You could make the decision that you wouldn't transfer as much, because there would be some fund balance there.
And if fund balances get excessive in those funds, we would do that. We would say, hey, there's a massive amount of money there. Don't,
But what's excessive, like what is the?
I would have to analyze it fund by
Yes.
fund. I don't have that
Okay.
off my head. And usually what happens is you'll talk with when you're going through the audit, your audit, you'll talk with them and say, hey, what do you think about that? And they'll be like, yeah, that's looking a little high, and then you don't do it.
And then, I mean, Parks and Rec, this is like a yearly,
Correct.
thing with
Right,
them.
correct.
And that's really.
We had
what-
already brought this to your
It
attention.
really, it's, I don't know, I find it troubling that, the budget every year seems to be, a little out of control. And I'd like, an explanation as to what's gonna be done to fix that, because that's a problem. It's a hole in our pocket.
Well, honestly, I think that what you're seeing here is you're seeing the general fund is that it appears that based on the way that the town is going and with the fee structure, is the town is making a tax contribution to the Parks and Rec fund, and that's substantiating the operations of that
What's
fund.
their budget right now, like the ballpark?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
I mean, but I would imagine 15,000 would be a substantial, no?
No.
No? No?
It's higher now, much higher now.
I'm sorry, Tom?
It's not, that wouldn't be substantial.
Like,
This
to
number
go
has
over
gone,
budget,
this number is
15,000.
lower than it had
Is their
been.
budget above 100 grand?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay.
Right,
I'm just trying to
it
put
just comes
things-
down to what
Yeah.
policy you want to support.
Right.
So if you want to support Parks and Rec, then there's going to be money that's contributed to them. If you don't, then that's your position. So it's going to have to be voted on.
I just want to support, budgets that, are held responsible. People are held responsible for budgets, at the end of the day, if I go over my budget, I'm gonna get in trouble, that's just how things work. And for a lot of other, agencies in town to not have any problems, and then to see something like this happening. Last year it was 40,000, I remember. This year it's 15. I guess it's better, but, at the same time, we had already,
I don't know if it's
upgraded the
fair to
budget.
suggest that they're being irresponsible.
I'm not, maybe not irresponsible, but, I just would like some explanation, that's all. I think that would be fair to say.
Well, revenues don't exceed, the revenue estimation and the revenues that are generatable don't come to the levels of the expenditures. And a good portion of that is that you have things that are not considered reimbursable, so to speak, in your fund structure. You have a director, a half position, all the bennies. That's not necessarily a reimbursable segment. There are utilities to the building, utilities to the structure, lights, heat. That's not necessarily. So then you have programmatic costs that are somewhat reimbursable. Those, he does try to reimburse on. The other segment you have is that it seems that with Parks and Rec in the past 3 to 5 years, it seems like there's more of a need, and as Mr. Dwyer has done, and I think he's done a nice job of this, is he's brought a control structure to his programs where he has staffing that probably represents the needs of the funds that are actually being run, the programs that are being run. And I think that he looks towards that more than necessarily is he making a profit. You know what I mean? Or is he profiting? He's looking, is the safety of the child and the kids that are there, that is what's paramount to him. When he runs basketball camps, he utilizes real officials, and when he runs games, it's approved officials. Where before it was maybe a friend or a family member. Those are things that
Well,
occur.
But here's what happens. I mean, we approve the transfer, I mean, we have to, but then it comes time for budget season, and what I was troubled with last year was, you know, you go over budget 40,000, and then the next time it's budget season, you just up your budget by 40,000.
You don't have to approve that budget.
And, well, I mean, I brought it to the attention of the board last time, and
Yep.
I really think it's kind of a backdoor way to increase your budget. And I don't think it's fair to,
Well, let me make sure that I understand what you're
You go
saying.
over budget, and we have to transfer the money now. So if you're already over budget,
But you were talking, Ryan, about putting together the budget for the next year. That's when you have the control. And as I'm recalling, there was an additional amount of transfer revenue put in for this year's budget based on the expenses.
exactly,
From
so
the
then
previous
next
year.
year, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see
But
this
that's when-
15,000 listed as an expense from last year. So in a way, when you look at the numbers like that, cause I remember looking at the report, and I remember seeing, okay, you had an extra 40,000 transferred in, and that was an expenditure from the prior year. So if you take away that 40,000, even though we never technically approved it, we approved the transfer.
Now,
but
wait, let me get a clarification on that. I'm not sure that the expenses were over by 40,000. The revenues were not present to accommodate the stated expenditures.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he's not
we
really-
did it-
I
The
mean,
budget,
right.
let me just, if I
Go
could
ahead.
finish. The expenses, Tom, but I want you to correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
because
I'm-
I'm going on memory. The expenses, in other words, what was spent in that fund was at or near what was approved. What didn't occur by a large amount is the amount of revenue that had been expected to come in from fundraising or grants or other sources did not meet up with what was predicted. So, am I right, more or less?
Yeah, more or less, you're losing in revenue is where you're
Yeah,
losing.
Losing
okay.
it,
He- The only other place where
I don't really
he
care what-
loses
it
in
doesn't matter
expenses
what we're
is
losing.
in.
We're losing more than we should be, is what my,
You're
than we
not,
budgeted.
no,
You're losing.
no,
You're
you're not
making the
losing,
decision that that's what
you're not
you're gonna
getting,
We're not
provide.
gaining.
you're not getting it in.
We had
You're
that,
s-
remember that problem where he was talking about how much he lost in fundraising, where he was working so much harder trying to fundraise. It
Yeah.
wasn't fair.
There-
So that's where a lot of the money he was getting.
It's no different than other things that we provide. It's no different than the senior center. You're providing money to the seniors, aren't you?
Well, absolutely, but
So-
I mean,
so it's just a
but
decision.
we're providing what we budget. That's the only problem I have, is that I'd like to, see more.
Well, then the budget is wrong when you're predicting
That's-
what the
that's
revenues
my
are.
problem. I'm
So
saying
the
that's
budget
not-
is wrong.
But that's not his fault.
Well, I think it's our fault. You know, I think we should do a better job oversight.
To me, in the end,
and
the
make
numbers
better
work out to be
budgets.
whatever they're gonna be for what you wanna provide
Well,
anyway.
I'm trying to,
so-
I think we should be more fiscally responsible with, you know, make sure that things don't fall through the cracks, that's all. I don't wanna see budgets have to get transferred every year, and this is the second year.
You're
in a row.
underfunding, which I think what we're seeing, Ryan, is that we are underfunding what we're approving as expenditures. We're predicting that we're gonna get all this revenue coming in, and we're not. We haven't seen it. So you either cut all your expenditures, you cut out, which I'm not proposing, or you pay with local tax dollars revenue to run the Park and Rec program. What we didn't predict appropriately was the revenue side. We
Yeah,
didn't
I know, but
overspend
I
the
know,
budget.
and I understand that, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I do understand that, but we over-predicted last year too, and so this is the second year in a row of us over-predicting, so.
I'm hoping that
and-
this- it was better.
And I will say
It was a big
15,000 is a
improvement.
lot less than 40, but, you know, it's still the second highest on here, and that's the only reason why I thought it should,
Yeah.
be brought up.
But if you were to look at if you look at the spread of the number, I think, from the 2 years, with what you increased the transfer already and what you, it's like that's what he's losing, was the number. You know what I mean? It was like we had increased the transfer during the budget cycle for 13 from the prior year. But then you lost 15, but then you look and you're like, well, that's kinda the number that you're losing.
Mhm.
And it's just, you don't have the revenue. Now, he does try, I know he's tried different things where he says, okay, I'm gonna charge this. Then what happens is, he charges too much, the project's canceled.
It's not easy, I know.
Right. No, I mean, what I'm
But
saying,
it's-
it's not that, but you seem to think that they don't try.
No, no, I am not-
There
I
is,
don't
there
mean
is
to say
a,
that.
he
It's
definitely
just
is
that-
attempting, and he's trying to work it out, and, I mean, it was an interesting, the fund's interesting, probably '07, '08, there was a time in there where he had the Kids Blast program, which was a revenue maker. Then that got transferred to youth service, so now that fund somewhat makes some revenue.
I just, I
You know,
don't
it's
see the
just-
library on here, I don't see other.
They're run differently.
I know, but maybe.
But the library has, thankfully, the library has a really excellent organization called the Friends of the Library that help that fund, and that's a fundraising organization.
But
But so does Parks and Rec has their
But the
own.
Well, the
library-
closest to me is the senior center. They're not making any money.
No, the
Right.
library and the
If the
senior
town is
center.
giving
They're
them
not,
money.
they're not.
So
and-
why aren't we requiring the senior center?
But they're
to
not,
make- to
we're not
produce revenue?
transferring money over to them.
Well, how do you think they're supported?
Well, because we budgeted right, we budgeted correctly.
We budget them differently.
We differently, but the only reason
So-
why they're
so
on
you
here
just-
is
so
for
if
an
you want it,
unexpected worker.
so you predict the revenue differently, and you
It's-
just give more money to them up front. So there
Maybe
you
we
go.
should,
So-
yeah, so
Okay,
that.
But what's the difference?
I don't know, because I feel like it's a difference. I would like, budgets that are accurate, and reflective of what, I know we try to be as close as possible. I know, Parks and Rec has gotta be one of the most difficult. So I do understand that. I just think that,
Well, the
we
audit
can do
isn't,
better.
and the audit isn't out yet. It's almost going to be ready. But the overall year finished with a surplus. So I don't want to give an impression that we are overspending and our revenues aren't coming in. We had more revenues and we spent less. So as a global picture, we're okay. We're doing very well. We're doing extremely well, actually. We had a surplus that we'll be able to tell you the amount very soon. Even with these, and the transfers, Tom, for last year, do not mean that we're overexpending in the general fund. I
No, no, no,
understand your
just the
point.
revenue, we're not getting the revenue maybe. is-
No,
the
no.
general fund is
Oh, you're talking
fine.
about- yeah, okay.
Just, when you look at Parks and Recreation, you're just looking at the revenues that come in for just Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
Right.
But what
Yeah,
I'm saying,
there's-
the
it's-
general fund is doing very, very well. And with these transfers, you still have a year that you finished with a healthy.
I know,
surplus.
the number, I know, the big picture is great, I'm just nitpicking because.
Well, there's two,
It's almost 10 o'clock and I can't think of anything better to do.
Except for a calzone, you're missing.
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah,
missed my
you're
calzone,
done.
yeah.
any other
Is there a
questions?
motion on the table?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian made a motion and Kathy seconded to approve the transfers.
Is there further discussion? Fred or Kathy?
No.
Brian or Carl? Brian. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, now I think the item number 12. Now, within your packets, you have a resolution entitled supplemental.
See if I can beat that calzone.
Supplemental Appropriations, Security and Safety System-Wide Board of Education. Now, we need to actually set a town meeting, not a public hearing. That's an error. So we will be setting a town meeting for this, because anytime you make a change to your capital fund, you need, or more than $1,000, you have to have a town meeting to tell everyone. Now, I mentioned when we opened the meeting that the town has received a grant from the state of Connecticut for school safety. And what the grant states, let me just find it here. I'm pleased to forward for your signature the 2013 School Security Competitive Grant Program. It's actually for the amount of $45,746, parentheses, state funding, $25,752, local match, which is the town taxes, $21,994. So, last spring, we made several improvements to our schools. The Board of Education expended approximately $25,000 for improvements to the schools. Specifically, there were some improvements made at Gildersleeve School and also throughout the district. You, under the general fund, improved the lock sets in all of the schools. And that was approximately, if I'm not mistaken, about $21,000. Somewhere in that vicinity, 24, 25, somewhere in that vicinity.
25 plus.
So the grant that is going to be reimbursed, it's a reimbursable grant, to us will be for the $25,752. So the resolution is allowing us and notifying everyone that we are taking that grant money and we will put it into the capital fund for future school security measures.
Do we know what those are?
We
Just out
know
of
what
curiosity.
some may be. They include, because there is a town-wide, includes myself and Tom and other members of law enforcement, along with school members. We meet on a quarterly basis. And some of the things that still need to be done, Brian, are additional cameras in some of the schools, the potential for blinds for some of the windows and doors, and also the potential for improving communications, such as radios and/or walkie-talkies within the school system. So those are some of the initiatives that have been mentioned as necessary. So with this resolution, the $25,752 will be in the capital fund to pay for additional school safety improvements. And what we will need to do is pass a motion to have a town meeting, which could potentially be on the 18th of December at 7:15 here in the Portland Library. Our next meeting is the 18th. And that would, I believe, give me enough time to notice it in one of our newspapers. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Kathy. All in favor of putting this?
I would just say, I don't know how important this is, but just in the third paragraph, it probably
Yeah.
should read that have not yet been funded. Seems like it's a typo.
Okay. Which one, Brian?
Just the third paragraph, recommendations that
Yeah,
have
that's
not
right.
yet been funded.
Put not.
Recommend.
You're,
Yes.
to be funded, or however you want to phrase it.
Have not yet been funded. Okay. That makes it clearer, I think. All right. All in favor of establishing that as a town meeting?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Because the action for this is actually
Yeah.
by the town meeting, not the Board of Selectmen. All right, the next item is Board of Selectmen meeting dates for calendar year 2014. You have a motion and resolution with the listing, I believe. Like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Yes.
it's fine.
Who made the motion? Carl, seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next is appointments to boards, commissions, terms expiring 2013, vacancies, expired terms. And I had sent to you by way of email electronically a listing. So if you're ready for some of those appointments, we will entertain those at this point. Do you want to start, Kim?
Okay. To the Conservation Commission, Norm Ward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also to Conservation Commission, Jacqueline Germain.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Economic Development, David C. Kuzminski.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Inland Wetlands, Christopher Flood.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also to Inland Wetlands, Keith Nauerhouse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And an alternate to Inland Wetlands, Alan Fenro.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To the Library Board of Directors, Kathleen Halligan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To the Library Board of Directors, Stephen Habino.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To the Library Board of Directors, Lenore Smith.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Long Range Capital, Gary Nolan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Long Range Capital, Andrew France.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Park and Recreation, Ralph Zampano.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alternate to Park and Recreation, Dolores Bates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Planning and Zoning, Michael Warnow.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Planning and Zoning, Carol Caldes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Senior Citizens, Ruth Mayo.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Senior Citizens, Ruth Kalinowski.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Water and Sewer, Norm Ward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Water and Sewer, David T. Kuzminski.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Youth Services, Carol Gilbert.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Youth Services, Ray Poet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To Youth Services, Fran Scholl.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And alternate to Youth Services, Dana Gary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there other nominations tonight? I think some of those were unaffiliated, some were Democrat, and some are Republicans. And those were people that had agreed to continue to serve. Yeah, there may be more, and we will make more appointments as time goes on. I have shared with you some of the people that have volunteered for consideration for Ethics Commission and also the Housing Authority. So we will review those at another time. There is number 15 on our agenda, correction to refund James F. Colaresi had been approved for $19.08 on November 6, 2013. There was a clerical error, and the correct amount of the refund of excess payment is $3,492.41. The difference between those two numbers is $3,473.33, which requires approval. So the motion would be for James F. Colaresi to receive an additional $3,473.33.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's continue. Refunds of excess payments. Brian? Give Kathy's voice a rest.
Move the refund of $2,444.85 to Anton and Elizabeth Trojanowski.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
The sums of $142.33, $279.64, and $443.36 to Job's 3 Association Inc.
Second.
Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
$18.11 to Michael A. Carpio.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
$81.17 to Stephen B. L. Grover or Mark Grover.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
$301.48 to Honda Lease Trust.
Second.
Seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Status reports. I did have, at the beginning of the meeting, notice of the Portland Panthers youth football, and they have requested if the selectmen were so inclined to make a donation to the fact that they're on their way to play in a Mid-Atlantic National Championship in Richmond, Virginia. And they will be competing in December. Panthers and their families have started fundraising efforts for the trip to the national championship. Any type of sponsor or donation would be greatly appreciated. Thank you in advance for helping the Portland Panthers. And there would be some dollars within the program services account that the Board of Selectmen has for your consideration.
What type, level of donation would you recommend, Susan?
Well, I think at this point, certainly maybe the bronze sponsorship might be appropriate, which is $150.
You do have that money available in the fund?
I'll have my our finance director determine that. Tom Robinson?
He's looking in his pocket right now.
Where's the council?
The council.
So Ryan, are you making that a
No, it's
motion?
not
Yeah, I'm making a motion to donate or sponsor.
Bronze sponsorship?
Bronze sponsorship for the Portland Panthers football.
I'll
Thank you.
second
Wish them
that.
good
Seconded
luck.
by Kathy. Me too. They've worked very, very hard, and I do want to compliment their coaches and all of the players and their parents. They've worked very hard. I was able to go to one of their games, and there's really quite a large number of youth involved in the football as well as the cheerleaders, and they really do a nice job with our youngsters. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Any questions, Laura? Okay. I don't think that I had anything else for you tonight, other than.
Informal, just two quick things.
We do have an informal discussion is next.
If you're there.
Public comment, there is no public comment at this point. We are, Fred.
We had both our legislators were here. For the next meeting or the one after, if we gave some thought, at least I'd like to do this,
Mhm.
give some thought to some issues that they might be able to help us with in the upcoming legislative session, which will start in February. I think if we have, some specific items that might be of this, that would help the town, we can, officially, or you can pass them on
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
to the selectmen.
Yeah, and I was very pleased that both of them were here tonight. I
Yeah,
think
that's
that was
good that they
very
showed
good.
up, yeah. Yeah, and the other quick issue is, I think we do a pretty fair job with the grants, and matter of fact, there was one tonight. But I'm wondering, we talked about this once before, if there's some way we can enhance, because there is this grant money, and it occurred to me with tonight with the public safety, for example. There's this grant money that is available, but,
Right.
we just, I think, need some creativity to find a way to get somebody who can help us, with those types of grants.
I'm gonna start with, that particular one, Fred, with, talking to Chief Salvatore and Cromwell. Many of these grants, as you know, have deadlines, and you have to know when they're going to be made available. And he is very active in the Connecticut State Police Chiefs Association, so he is very knowledgeable, and I'm gonna get in touch with him and designate someone from our police department to get information. In terms of writing some of these grants, I hope they tend to be of a, I won't say a simple nature, but they're not as complicated as federal grants would be. If we were to go toward a federal grant of a substantial nature, that's a different story. And then I think, would want to look at a regional approach to such a grant, to perhaps have some help from the other towns and/or someone to write something. Maybe that's what you were thinking about, is some of these federal grants that are very large.
Yeah, the federal, I know some of the grants are much more difficult and more time consuming, and at certain hours, and that's always a problem, funding those. But
Mhm.
if we're serious about
Sure.
about this, I know we are.
Sure.
We have to kind of think
Yes.
of any way we can get at it.
And I will bring that up when we meet regionally as well. Report back.
That's it for me.
Yes, sir.
To that point, you might not be aware, we had, received about a $28,000 JAD grant, which is Department of Justice grant. Just recently, we're working with that. That grant, it was, we're putting in some of our connectivity into the CGIS network for the police department. There was some router situation. Also, we were able to obtain radios from that grant, and there's some other money. So it's about a $27,000 to $28,000 grant from the Department of Public Safety. So that's one of the ones, and that's a, state and federal pass-through. That's kind of what you get, those. And the other one, I mean, we have highway safety money. We've been working with the State Department with Main Street Streetscape project, and months and months now gone by, and we're waiting for our money. So we've outlaid large sums of money and not received it. So it's a very, very slow process and expensive. So that, on the federal side, the state was wonderful, the ECB component of the grant, get everything you need and reimbursed, and the other side was, different.
Federal grants are, other than small cities, which you typically, they're administered a little differently, as I think you know. But some of the transportation grants are very challenging in terms of actually getting your money back. I spoke with the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation a year ago in terms of closing out a particular project, and I was assured that it would be closed out rapidly, and we're still working on that rapidity. So we're careful as to how many of those kinds of grants that we apply for because of the difficulty, the flow. The cash flow just isn't there. Whereas, as Tom pointed out, the state grants are quite quick in their turnaround. They do a nice job. Maybe our regional planning agency might be an entity to write some of these grants and host them for a regional effort. East Hampton and Portland share the same regional agency, and I know that CROG does a fair amount of that as well, as an example. Thank you. Good suggestions. Any other informal discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we would need to adjourn into executive session because I have another matter. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So that was Brian and Carl, and it is 10:10.
That's true.